This week, we have our first guest on Office Hours, Dr. Ashley Storman. Dr. Storman just finished her doctorate, which we get into in this interview, and she was just promoted the Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Maryville University.
Dr. Storman, we have a lot of college students who listen and watch this show. What advice would you give? What is your definition of success?
I would say success is different for each person. But when I think of success, it's when you set out for a goal. When you have something in mind that you want to achieve. And so for me, if I think about what success was for me early on, it was graduating from college. Being a first generation student, I was the first person to graduate. So that was success for me. It's not one thing that makes you successful. I think throughout your life, you can have successful moments or always push to achieve success.
So try to get tactical in what students can do right now and thinking of just $100. What is something you've purchased recently, whatever recently means to you, that it says something under $100 has made a big impact on your life?
I would have to say probably a journal. With everything that's been going on recently, with also being a new mom of two, just being able to have a journal to kind of process my thoughts, my feelings, and kind of what's going on. It's probably been the best purchase that I've had in the last few months.
All right, Dr. Storm, every week we send a picture of something from you online, from social media, and I ask what was going on in this image right here.
Okay, so this picture was at the Maryville University Women Who Dare to Dream Luncheon. They do it every year in the month of March. And in this particular picture, I was asked to be, I think her name was Sela. I was asked to be her host. She was a part of our panel. She was a really great lady. I follow her now on social media. She's into traveling and fashion and everything like that. So it was a fun opportunity to be able to engage with someone outside of the Maryville community, but to also introduce them to Maryville and what it's like to be a Saint.
Your dissertation topic, the pivotal leadership experience of the African American in presidency. What was your aha moment? What one takeaway can you share from your dissertation?
What I noticed from all the women that I interviewed, they were all involved in national organizations as far as like NASPA, which is a National Association of Student Affairs Association. So I think it's how those professional national organizations really do impact the development of those women.
We've talked about on this weekly show about how I think brands and organizations should lean into racial and social justice and promoting that justice within the United States. In your opinion, how can leaders show up to support justice?
That's a great question. For me, I think it's doing the work yourself. I feel like sometimes organizations put out maybe trainings around diversity and inclusion and social justice for their employees. But sometimes I feel like the leaders need to also engage in that development and in those trainings as well. I'm more of a person modeling the way. So I feel like if you model the way for that organization or that company as a leader, everyone else is going to follow along and do the same things.
So you've directed the Maryville Multicultural Scholars Program. What, in your opinion, is the future of all higher ed, not just at Maryville, but all higher ed and diversity? What's the future?
The future to me is retention. If we think about it, when I did some research a couple of years ago, it was saying like in 2023, in areas such as like California, Texas, and like New Jersey, it was saying that the majority population was going to eventually be the minority population. And so basically what they're saying is that underrepresented populations will no longer be underrepresented populations. And so I think as institutions of higher education, we need to start to understand that and what that will look like. And so that means we're going to have students from various walks of life that typically weren't in higher education come into higher education. And so when we think about diversity and inclusion, we're thinking about identities and understanding all of that. So we need to understand that, and what measures do we need to put in place to make sure those students are successfully graduating and being retained within the 4 years and actually getting the college degree.
All right, here's the fun time. Dr. Storman, I've just given you $4 million to buy a Super Bowl commercial. What do you play? What goes into that Super Bowl commercial?
I don't know how this would work, but my biggest passion is college access and working with underrepresented students. So I would have someone help me with a great video that would encourage that population to learn about the college process and to get them into college. So something around college access, college readiness, it would probably focus on for underrepresented populations for sure.
I just sent you a graph of $15 that you can spend on any social media sort of tech resources. How would you spend your $15?
I would definitely spend the $5 on Instagram. That's probably where I spend some of my time at on social media. The other one will be Pinterest. I always go on Pinterest for ideas for food, decorating, things like that. The other one would probably be Facebook. I do use Facebook a lot to connect with family for sure. The other one would be the $4 for blogs. I follow different blogs, and it depends on what's going on in my life, but some I follow now is around being a mom and things like that. So the other one, last $4 would be on blogs.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Storman, I want to thank you for being our first ever guest on the Office Hours show. So thank you for taking your time.
Thanks for having me.